If you are like me and are one of the privileged people who had your wedding day photographed, you need to knock the dust off that thing and flip through it every now and then. And not just to laugh at yourself, certainly not to laugh at your spouse, but they bring back good memories. And if you're also like me, one of the very privileged people who had your wedding recorded, believe it or not, mine was on VHS. I know some of the teenagers never heard of such, but mine was actually recorded on VHS. Go back and watch that sometime, if for no other reason to listen to what came out of your mouth. But that preacher or whoever it was had you repeat some things that you would do in sickness and in health till death, things like that, do your part. That's serious. That's serious. I look back on mine and it was all such a whirlwind, I didn't know what I was doing. I'm glad I did what I did. Bailed that one out quick, didn't I? And I think my wife would say likewise. Let's go ahead and open our Bibles up to the Song of Solomon. Oh, the bliss of marital love, right? Everything will be bright blue skies and sunny days. There will be no storm too bad, no mountain too high. And then reality sets in, right? It's worse. It's bad. You think everything's going to be a sunny day? Let me tell you, it's not. There's going to be hills, there's going to be valleys, there's going to be storms, there's going to be all types of things in your marital life that you can't plan for. It just happens, and that's really how life is anyway. Well, what happens when we lose sight of our marital love? What to do when the love grows cold? Let me give you some advice. Open the Bible, number one. Number two, read the Song of Solomon. There's a lot of debate, and I guess we could stand up and talk about the different ways of viewing the Song of Solomon. Here's what it is. It exalts marital love. Take it as it reads. Some people make it an allegory for God and Israel. That ain't what it is. Some say it's Christ and the church. That ain't what it is either. Some say it's this, that, and the other thing. It's simple what it is. It's the eyes of two people who are married and who really love each other. You ought to read it sometime. Maybe we'll do that some Wednesday night. The Song of Solomon, the book of the Song of Solomon, is a celebration of marital love. That's what we want to entitle tonight's sermon, is marital love. What is marital? That means married. It's married love. What is the Song of Solomon about? It's about married love. Husband, wife, lawful love. Now there are some, by our standards, racy descriptions in this book. But let me remind you of Hebrews 13:4. God is the author of marriage. Marriage is honorable in all, and the bed undefiled. But whoremongers and adulterers God will judge. There are some things which can take place in the marriage bed that are okay. Outside of marriage, you cannot get away with that. If you are married, and specifically lawfully married, you need to read Song of Solomon and learn how to express yourself as best as you can to your spouse. 3 E's tonight. Number one, marital love is exalted. We'll talk about that from the Song of Solomon, and remember that God is the author of marriage. Number two, marital love is exclusive. I am my beloved's. And we'll see from the Shulamite, Solomon's wife's perspective, my beloved, and I am his. They share each other in an exclusive relationship, and we'll talk some about polygamy too. And then number three, marital love must never be extinguished. 3 E's, exalted, exclusive, extinguished. Let's look at the Song of Solomon. Let's look in chapter 3 and verse 1 here. First thing we're talking about tonight. Marital love is exalted. Now, when you go through this, there are some words that indicate they are married. But really you don't see some of the key words I guess we may look at to say husband, wife, though you will see spouse, you will see espousal and things like that, but make no mistake about it. This is about marital love. How do you know that, Brock? Well, I'm going to teach you something real easy, the 3 C's. You can mock it, you can laugh at it, but it'll hold up every time. Context, context, context. What does that mean? The first one is the immediate context, the verses which come immediately before or after any verse in the Bible. Then what's called the remote context. What's that? That is the book in and of itself, but then the final context is the total context of the Bible. So it's hard to tell from the first 2 in the Song of Solomon, but in the totality of the Bible, God never approves of whoremongers or adulterers or fornicators. So the way these 2 people express themselves one to another is from the bond of marital love. And marital love is exalted. Let's look at Song of Solomon 3 and verse 1. First 5 verses here, probably the Shulamite. If you don't know who that is, that's okay. That's Solomon's wife. We'll talk about it Wednesday. By night on my bed, I sought him whom my soul loveth. She's apparently dreaming about her husband. I sought him, but I found him not. Now look also in verse 11. Go forth, O ye daughters of Zion, and behold King Solomon with the crown. That's probably not the kingly crown. It's more like a wedding, I guess a wreath. Something you could put on your head. That was their custom, not ours, and that's okay. With the crown wherewith his mother crowned him in the day of his espousals. Maybe yours says wedding. And in the day of the gladness of his heart. I do remember that about my wedding day. I was very, very, very happy. I had joy in my heart. And I think my wife did too, at least probably for, I don't know, a month, 2 months, somewhere along the line, till reality set in. 13 years later, here still I am, bless her heart. That's okay. Marital love is exalted. When you go through the Song of Solomon, it seems as though Solomon refers to his bride as love. What do you call your wife? Well, it's okay if you call her by her name. It's okay if you have, I guess, what could be referred to as a pet name. That's all right, but it does not need to be anything derogatory. When Solomon is speaking in reference to his wife, he doesn't call her the old ball and chain. He doesn't say the old lady. He doesn't use any type derogatory comments, and in the same manner, it seems that she refers to him as beloved. Now, that's all right. My wife's here. She has full permission to refer to me as her beloved. That's all right. Brock works, but beloved, I maybe could get used to that. What's the point? When you go through the Song of Solomon, it is obviously evident that God has an exalted view of marital love. And since God has an exalted view of marital love from Genesis 2:18 to 25, what must our view be? Do we need to look at marriage as and just an also ran? I'm married, not married. I can or can't be. It's not a big deal. That's not true. The Bible doesn't teach that. Marital love, in the first place, is exalted. Can you think back to Genesis 2:18 to 25? Can you imagine being Adam and seeing all those, at least land animals, go past him? And there was not found a suitable helper for him. And then God puts him in a deep sleep. He takes a rib out of his body and forms Eve, woman. Can you imagine how excited Adam would have been when he saw her? Boy, he's seen monkeys, he's seen lions, tigers, bears, whatever. And then there's Eve. Wouldn't you be excited? Can you imagine that? Listen, I don't care if you've been married to your spouse 50 years. When you look at her every day of your life, that is the type of excitement that we need to feel toward our spouse. Can you imagine how Adam felt? All you have to do is go around, look in the world, and be glad you got who you got. Trust me. Be glad you have who you have in the first place. Marital love is exalted. Now, number 2. Marital love is exclusive. Let's look at the Song of Solomon. At least 3 times, if I read this right, you'll read this. Look at Song of Solomon 2:16. My beloved is mine, and I am his. He feedeth among the lilies. We'll talk about that. What's the point? Marital love is exclusive. Now, look in chapter 6 and verse 3. You'll see this repeated throughout the book. And let me say this. At some point in time, you can say Solomon had 700 wives and 300 concubines. Fine. Somewhere along the line, he had one. My opinion is this is the one. This is how he felt on number 1. Now look at Song of Solomon 6:3. I am my beloved's, and my beloved is mine. He feedeth among the lilies. Look at 7:10. I am my beloved's, and his desire is where? Is toward me. Do you know that polygamy was never commanded by God at any time in human existence? Well, how do you explain that then, Brock? I can explain it this way. Acts 17:30. And the times of this ignorance, now I understand in that context, that is idolatry. Maybe even possibly thinking that the Godhead is made unto silver, gold, stone, man's device, any of those kind of things. But God never commanded it. He overlooked it. He allowed men to do that. Nowhere did he ever say, hey, you need 2 wives. That's not how God set the standard in the Garden of Eden, is it? He had Adam and he had Eve, and there was no provision for divorce. Here's who you have, and you all stay together till death do you part. Now, the design of marital love, brethren, friend, and neighbor, has always been exclusive. One man, one woman, one lifetime, and it is necessary for me to say this. The marital bed must remain exclusive. I am my beloved's. Right there she sits. That's it for me. Till she dies, more than likely, because I don't aim to date again if I have anything to do with it. Because that's just how it is. Now, we'll have to see what happens if I die, she dies, or something like that. But that's it. There is no other one. There is no one else. There is no inviting someone else into the marriage bed. You cannot do that. Don't even entertain those thoughts. You realize we live in a sex-crazed society, and yes, I said sex-crazed. TV and internet, when misused, contribute to many of our problems. That doesn't mean the TV is inherently wrong. It doesn't mean the internet is inherently wrong. But you misuse it, and you'll mess yourself up. And you'll mess your spouse up, and you'll mess your soul up, most importantly. Now I want you to turn with me to Matthew 5. You remember what I started off this saying? Go back. Knock the dust off those marriage pictures. Take that VHS player to Sam's or somewhere, Walmart. They can put it on a DVD or I guess even a Blu-ray, whatever you want it to be. If you still have a VHS player, play it. If it's on beta, find a way. You find a way. Watch it again. And listen to what you said and listen to what she said. It should be the case that when we do that, our love for our spouses should be renewed. But if that doesn't work, I bet you the words of Jesus will, to the honest and good heart. Matthew 5, beginning in verse 27. What are we talking about? Marital love must be exclusive. I am my beloved's, and my beloved is mine. That's it. Till death do us part. Matthew 5:27. You've heard that it was said by them of old time, thou shalt not commit adultery. But I say unto you, that whosoever looketh, you see the F, that's continuous action, looketh on a woman to lust, that's unlawful desire after her, hath committed adultery. That is a different word than what Jesus uses in Matthew 19:9, and also in this same context. Point being, you look at someone who is not your beloved, and you look after them with lust in your heart, you are sinning. You can't do that. Keep your eyes to yourself. Hath committed adultery with her already in his heart. Now look at verse 29. We're going to keep reading. And if thy right eye offend thee, pluck it out. Is that literal or figurative? Figure it out. And cast it from thee, for it is profitable for thee that one of thy members should perish, and not that thy whole body should be cast into hell. You take that how you want to. And if thy right hand offend thee, cut it off, and cast it from thee. Why? For it is profitable for thee that one of thy members should perish, and not that thy whole body should be cast into hell. Look at verse 31. It hath been said, whosoever shall put away his wife, let him give her a writing of divorcement. What does the Son of God say? What does Jesus say? But I say unto you, that whosoever, who falls into whosoever? Whosoever. Are you a human being? You're a whosoever. Whosoever shall put away his wife, he could have said period, but he didn't. He said, saving for the cause of fornication. That is a different word than what we read. Jesus said adultery a few verses previously. This is unlawful sex. Do I need to explain what sex is? I don't, and I'm not going to. You know what sex is. Fornication causeth her to commit adultery. And whosoever, who falls into whosoever? Any person, whosoever shall marry her that is divorced, that is unlawfully divorced, what happens? Committeth adultery. Brethren, do you see the importance of keeping your eyes to yourself? And most importantly, keep your hands to yourself. I am my beloved's, and my beloved is mine. We need to stress the exclusivity of marriage. That person sitting beside you most likely is your lawful spouse. That's where your eyes go. Every person else you look from the shoulders up. That's where you need to look. You make eye contact with folk. You don't need to do one of these numbers here, looking at someone. You look from the shoulders up. Why? Because you get in trouble. The unguarded heart will get in trouble every time. Number one, marital love is exalted. Number two, marital love is exclusive. Don't look at another other than your beloved in the way that you look at your beloved. Now, number three, let's go back to Song of Solomon. Key verses, in my opinion, in Song of Solomon is what we're going to read right now. Song of Solomon 8, verses 6 and 7. Number 3, marital love must never be extinguished. You know life is hard, and we're all pulled in every different direction. The demands of life are, I think, too numerous to be counted. You have to work. You have to go to school. Kids have to do this. You have to do a lot of things. Let me give you some advice. You have to spend alone time. We'll talk about what alone time is. You have to spend alone time with your spouse. Now, number 3, again, marital love must never be extinguished. Song of Solomon 8:6. Set me, that's the spouse, probably the Shulamite, Solomon's wife. Set me as a seal upon thine heart, as a seal upon thine arm, for love is strong as death. Young people, don't play with love. It will burn you. Get through your teenage years and you stay a virgin. For love is strong as death. Jealousy is cruel as the grave. The coals thereof are coals of fire, which hath a most vehement flame. The point seems to be that love is a fire. Now what happens with fire? Fire is useful when you use it lawfully. You understand that? Love will burn you and light you up, and if you're not careful, set your resurrected body, soul, and spirit on hellfire for all eternity. Watch it, verse 7. Many waters cannot quench love, neither can the floods drown it. If a man would give all the substance of his house for love, It would be utterly contemned, King James language there. Now, you understand just as well as I do. There are a lot of things we have to do in this life. You have to work. You have to do this. You have to. And that, from one way of looking at it, is okay. It's okay to have all those have-tos. But let me stress it. You have to spend time with your spouse. You're going to have to say no to your buddies, no to your girlfriends, or whatever they may be, and say, I have to spend time with my beloved. Why? Because it's right. Because marital love is exalted. Marital love is exclusive, and marital love must not be extinguished. Now, let's talk about some alone time. Let me give you some perspective here. Let me give you a man's perspective. All right? When there is regular alone time, all right, you know what I mean? Make me say it. You know what I mean. When there is regular alone time, there is no problem that will arise that a man won't get over. Am I right about it? I know I'm right about it. You know what alone time is. We're going to talk about it in 1 Corinthians 7. When you have alone time with your wife or your spouse, it changes a man's disposition. Everything gets not that big a deal. It's okay. We can get through this. It's all right. He calms down a whole lot. You know I'm telling the truth. Don't look at me like I'm crazy. Well, guess what? Does the Bible teach that? Yes, it does. Let's go to 1 Corinthians 7. Boy, you never know what's going to get preached here, do you? 1 Corinthians 7. What are we talking about? We're talking about marital love. It is exalted. It must be exclusive. And don't let the fire go out of your marriage, brethren. Fight for it. If ever you had anything worth fighting for, it's your marriage. Don't throw in the towel. Fight. 1 Corinthians 7:1, in my opinion, this would be where the book breaks down. You had the report from Chloe's house in the first 6 chapters, and then there's the response to the questions that are asked the inspired Apostle Paul from the Church of Christ at Corinth. Now, 1 Corinthians 7:1. Now, concerning the things whereof ye wrote unto me. They wrote unto him. At what time? I don't know. But they did, and he received it. It is good. He didn't say better there, does he? It is good for a man not to touch a woman. You understand that? Well, watch. Verse 2. Nevertheless. See, when God created man and woman, he knew there are certain desires, I guess you could say, built in men and women. And those desires have to be met. Now, where did God design for sexual desires to be met? In the marriage bond. What is marriage? One lawful man, one lawful woman for what ought to be one lifetime. Now, do you see what alone time is? Nevertheless, to avoid fornication. What's fornication? It's unlawful sex. That is any sexual activity outside of the marriage bond. To avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife. I am my beloved's, and my beloved is mine. You see that? And let every woman have her own husband. I am my beloved's, and my beloved is mine. Do you see that? Now look at verse 3. What do you think he's talking about here? Don't make me say it. You already got me nervous enough as it is, looking at me like I'm crazy. Let the husband render unto the wife alone time. That's due benevolence. Do you understand that? That is part of the marital bond. Do you realize that? It is. It is a blessing that comes from being lawfully married. And it's an obligation, just as it is to love one another. Let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence. And likewise, you can't hold that as a tool over someone's head. That's not a get out of jail free card. Or put someone in jail for a long period of time. You can't do that. You have no right to do that. And likewise also the wife unto the husband. Look at verse 4. The wife hath not power of her own body. What are they talking about? Do benevolence. What do we call it? Alone time. Shut the door. Tell the kids to go play in the yard. The wife hath not power over her own body, but the husband. Now you need to be reasonable. Be reasonable in anything. You can misuse anything. Be reasonable. And likewise also the husband hath not power over his own body, but the wife. Look at verse 5. This needs to be preached. And because it's in the Bible, because it's right, because it will help our marital love. Defraud ye not one another. What is he talking about? Do benevolence. Alone time. Defraud ye not one the other, except. When Jesus said you basically can't get divorced except it be for fornication, what did he mean? He meant the same thing here. Except it be with consent. For a time, for what purpose? That ye, that's you plural, both of you, may give yourselves, that's both of you again, to what? Fasting and prayer. Hey, you can say you're praying on something for years at a time, but I guarantee you won't fast for years at a time. I guarantee you won't fast any more than 40 days. If you can get even close to that. Do you understand what's being spoken of here? Don't defraud each other. Don't use it as a tool of power to teach someone a lesson. That's sinful. You can't do that. Defraud ye not one the other, except it be with consent for a time, that you may give yourselves to fasting and prayer, and do what? Come together again. Reckon what he's talking about. Okay, you know. That Satan tempt you not for your incontinency. That's a big way of saying lack of self-control. You remember what Jesus said in Matthew 5? Don't look at something that's not yours. Don't entertain those thoughts. Young people, old people, middle-aged people, all people, whoever. You look at your beloved. She is the apple of your eye, and he is the apple of your eye. What's the Song of Solomon about? It's about marital love. A lawful marriage is a beautiful thing in the eyes of God. And so it must be with us. There are many lessons we could, I guess, derive from Song of Solomon, but here's the point. It is husband, wife, loving each other till death. Not necessarily because of, but in spite of. Do you see the difference? You could go around and I could throw weight around and throw scriptures around and make you scared to death and say, you better love your wife. You better love your husband. You ought to love him or her in spite of all their shortcomings, because I've got sense enough to know I've got many. Do you have a beautiful marriage? Do you want a beautiful marriage? Then let the commands, principles, examples, precepts of the Bible guide every step of the way. Every step of the way. You need to be a Christian. Did you know that? Of all the things you could be in life, you could be a millionaire, billionaire, trillionaire, gazillionaire, whatever kind of heir you want to be. But what you need to be is a Christian. What is a Christian? A Christian is one who is Christ-like. Christ submitted to his Father's commands and did them with a loving heart full of obedience. What must I do in order to become a Christian? Hear the truth. Believe the truth. Repent of sin. Confess the wonderful name of Jesus Christ and be immersed in water by the authority of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit in order to receive the forgiveness of your sins. Are you a Christian? You need to be. Are you ready for eternity? Eternity is a long time. Get right with God and get right with your spouse. As together we stand and as we sing the song of encouragement.